There is something growing inside your walls right now. You can't see it, you can't smell it yet, but it's there, behind the plasterboard, under the bathroom tiles, along the window frame where the seal cracked 2 winters ago. It started as a single spore, invisible, weightless, carried in on a breath of air. It landed somewhere slightly damp, slightly warm, slightly dark, and it never left. Right now, 45 million buildings across the United States have unhealthy mold levels growing inside the walls. That number does not come from a conspiracy blog. It comes from a study published in the journal Indoor Air in 2017. The same research found that 21% of every asthma case in America is directly linked to mold and dampness exposure inside the home. Not seasonal allergies, not temporary sensitivity, real asthma. The kind that puts children in emergency rooms. The CDC confirmed it. The World Health Organization confirmed it. Living in a building with mold measurably increases your risk of developing respiratory disease. Those are their exact words. And yet, the solution has been sitting in your kitchen for decades. It costs $3. Scientists confirmed it eliminates up to 99% of all common household mold species on contact. It destroys the roots. It stops regrowth for months after a single application. And it has been systematically removed from every major cleaning product label. Not because it failed, because it worked too well. A fix this cheap cannot be sold for $30 a bottle. A solution this simple cannot bring the same customer back next month. What cannot be owned cannot generate profit, and what cannot generate profit gets buried. This is that story. Let's go back to 1928. Alexander Fleming is working alone inside a laboratory at St. Mary's Hospital in London. He notices something on a Petri dish that makes no sense. A patch of common household mold has spread across the glass surface. But surrounding it, every single colony of bacteria is dead. The mold had produced something that destroyed everything around it. Fleming calls it penicillin. The world calls it a miracle. But here is what the history books always leave out. The families who had been fighting household mold for centuries already understood exactly what Fleming was seeing. They just did not have a laboratory to name it. They knew that certain acids destroy the cellular wall of fungal organisms at the right concentration. They knew alkaline environments suffocate mold at the root level. They knew that oxidation breaks down airborne mold spores before they ever find a surface to colonize. They did not need research grants. They needed a pantry and 3 generations of observation. In the 1800s, families across rural England documented removing mold from stone walls using diluted vinegar. Church records in Somerset from 1842 describe washing damp stone with white vinegar and baking powder, not as an experiment, not as a folk remedy, as standard household protocol. In rural Appalachia, the same practice appears in handwritten household journals from the 1870s. Women documented combining white vinegar and baking soda to permanently eliminate mold from beams and cellar walls. It worked every single time. The recipe passed from mother to daughter for generations. It required nothing that could be sold, nothing that could be patented, nothing that could be owned. And that is exactly where the problem began. Because by 1950, the American cleaning product industry had fully consolidated around synthetic chemistry. Bleach became the universal default answer for everything. Companies invested enormous sums in shelf presence, mass advertising, and regulatory lobbying. The message was simple, and it was hammered into every household for 2 full generations. Only laboratory chemicals are powerful enough to protect your home. Your grandmother's methods are primitive, unreliable, dangerous. Trust the product. Trust the label. Never question either one. And it worked, not because the old method stopped working, because they stopped being taught. Within 2 generations, the knowledge vanished, not disproven, not improved upon, just erased. So what exactly makes this $3 formula so threatening to a $2.2 billion industry? Start with white distilled vinegar. It contains 5 to 8% acetic acid. That acetic acid does something no cleaning product label will ever explain to you. It penetrates mold down to the hyphal structure, the root system, the part that anchors mold to a surface and allows it to regrow after every surface clean. It disrupts the pH environment the fungus needs to survive at its foundation, not just the visible surface layer, but the root. Vinegar alone kills up to 82% of mold species in controlled laboratory conditions, and that includes black mold varieties. That data comes from documented research published across independent home health and environmental science institutions. From a bottle that costs under $2. Now add the second ingredient, baking soda, sodium bicarbonate. Its pH sits between 8 and 9 on the alkaline scale. Most mold species survive only in environments below pH 7, slightly acidic conditions, the exact environment mold seeks out and colonizes. Baking soda chemically transforms a surface into something hostile to fungal life. It doesn't just kill active mold, it leaves a residue that makes regrowth significantly harder for weeks and months after a single application. A 2017 study confirmed baking soda successfully inhibited mildew growth on organic surfaces even in outdoor agricultural conditions. One box costs approximately $1. Now here is where the science becomes something the cleaning industry cannot allow on any label. Vinegar attacks active mold colonies through direct acid penetration down to the root. Baking soda simultaneously neutralizes the surface chemistry below. 2 ingredients, 2 completely different mechanisms, attacking the same problem from opposite directions at the same time. One kills what is growing. The other changes the environment so nothing can grow back. Together, for under $3 in total material cost. And this is where the numbers become genuinely uncomfortable. The global mold inhibitor and cleaning product market is currently valued at $2.2 billion in 2025. That figure comes from SS&S Insider Market Research, published in February 2026. $2.2 billion, built on Clorox, Procter & Gamble, Reckitt, SC Johnson. Every one of them sells a mold and mildew removal product. Every one of those products contains synthetic chemical compounds. Every one costs between $8 and $40 per bottle, and not one of them performs meaningfully better than vinegar alone on standard non-porous household surfaces in independent testing. Not one. You cannot patent white vinegar. You cannot build a proprietary baking soda formula and own the market. You cannot create customer dependency on something that costs $1 and lives in every kitchen cupboard in the country. The entire business model of the cleaning product industry depends on one belief: that only they can protect your home. That the chemistry only they can manufacture is the only chemistry powerful enough to work. Vinegar and baking soda represent everything that model cannot survive. They are cheap, they are everywhere, they are completely uncontrollable, and they work. That is the combination the industry cannot tolerate. So instead of the truth, you were handed the orange bottle. You were told natural solutions are unreliable. You were shown advertisements where laboratory-dressed professionals sprayed branded chemicals onto gleaming white tiles. You were made to feel that reaching for vinegar was somehow negligent, irresponsible, even dangerous. And it worked. The market hit $2.2 billion. But here is what that campaign could never actually change. The chemistry. Acetic acid still penetrates hyphal roots the same way it did in 1842. Sodium bicarbonate still raises surface pH the same way it did in a Somerset church record. The molecules don't care about the advertising budget. They just work. And that is exactly why this information never made it onto the label of the product you paid $30 for last month. Because a customer who understands this is no longer a customer. In part 2, we go further. We look at why vinegar outperforms bleach on the surfaces that matter most. We look at what happened to the researchers who tried to bring this knowledge back into mainstream science. And we look at the one question the cleaning industry has never been able to answer cleanly. If their products are so superior, why do people keep coming back? The cleaning industry has one argument it always returns to. Natural remedies are unproven, anecdotal, unreliable. The kind of thing your grandmother believed before science arrived to correct her. It is a powerful argument, and it is also demonstrably false. The science exists. It has existed for decades. Published, peer-reviewed, and sitting in research databases that the average person never thinks to look inside. The industry did not suppress the studies. It suppressed the conversation around them. And there is a significant difference between those two things. You cannot make a published paper disappear, but you can make sure it never appears in a television advertisement, never gets referenced in a home improvement magazine, and never gets mentioned by the cleaning product representative speaking at a home builder's conference. You can make sure the only science most people ever encounter is the science printed on the back of a $30 bottle. For 70 years, that strategy worked almost perfectly, but the chemistry never changed. And the chemistry is where this story has always lived. Here is what independent testing consistently reveals, but never gets amplified. Bleach is genuinely effective on non-porous surfaces: glass, sealed ceramic, chrome, plastic. On those surfaces, bleach kills mold colonies on contact, fast, visibly, impressively. But the homes where mold becomes a serious health problem are not glass and chrome homes. They are stone homes, timber homes, homes with concrete walls and brick foundations and grout lines running through every bathroom surface. These are porous materials, and on porous materials, bleach fails at the only level that actually matters: the root. The sodium hypochlorite molecule is too large to penetrate the microscopic pore structure of stone, timber, concrete, and grout. So it hits the surface. It bleaches the visible mold, removes the color, makes everything look clean and treated. But the hyphal root system beneath, the biological anchor the mold grows from, remains alive, intact, undamaged. 2 weeks pass. The mold returns, darker, broader, more deeply established than before. And the homeowner walks back to the store and buys another bottle. This is not a flaw in the product design. This is the product design. A solution that permanently resolves the problem sells once. A solution that treats the surface while leaving the root intact sells forever. The repeat purchase is not a side effect of the formula. It is the purpose of it. Acetic acid, the active compound in white distilled vinegar, behaves completely differently. It is a significantly smaller molecule, small enough to move through the pore structure of timber, stone, grout, and concrete. Small enough to reach the hyphal root. Small enough to disrupt the pH environment at the biological foundation of the mold colony, not just its visible surface. One removes the symptom, the other removes the cause. When sodium bicarbonate is introduced afterward, raising the local pH into the alkaline range where most mold species cannot survive, the surface itself becomes the barrier. Not a chemical film that fades in days, a condition that persists for weeks, sometimes months, from two ingredients that together cost less than a single cup of coffee. Now here's where the story moves beyond chemistry and into something more uncomfortable. When independent researchers began publishing findings confirming the effectiveness of acid-based natural treatments on household mold, the industry response was not scientific engagement. It was strategic marginalization. Research was quietly categorized as having insufficient sample size. Methodology concerns were raised without specific rebuttal. Natural remedy advocates were grouped alongside broader alternative medicine movements, not because the science was comparable, but because the association created doubt. You do not need to disprove a finding to neutralize it. You just need to make the people citing it seem unreliable. It worked on an entire generation. But it could not work on the historical record. The Somerset Church records from 1842 still exist. The Appalachian household journals from the 1870s still exist. The peer-reviewed data confirming 82% mold elimination from acetic acid still exists. These records were not produced by people selling an alternative product. They were produced by families protecting their homes, by researchers measuring what actually works. None of them had a $2.2 billion revenue model to protect. They just reported what they found. And what they found keeps pointing in the same direction, away from the orange bottle, toward the pantry. Your great-grandmother did not need a certification to understand what protected her home. She had the knowledge, passed down by someone who tested it in real conditions over real years and found it reliable enough to pass forward. Then 70 years of coordinated messaging convinced her grandchildren that knowledge was not enough, that the answer to a biological problem was always a synthetic product on a retail shelf. It was the most profitable lie ever quietly told, and the correction costs $3. The same formula that protected stone walls in 1842, the same chemistry that worked in Appalachian cellars in 1873, still working today, exactly the same way. Because the mold has not changed. Only the knowledge of it was ever taken from you, and now you have it back.